Okay. The thing is, it's hard to maintain cool, but I can feel them, these people manipulate me to try to make me feel emotional because it's easy to get emotional. These people live off what they manipulate themselves and try to make me feel like I should identify with these manipulations. And the logic they want me to subscribe to identify with is nonsensical. The reality is there is a tactics, there is a system, there's a pattern of what they do. It is disturbing, but you hear this trash from professional people to neighbors trying their best to make you subscribe to this. I was in the call, and I like I want to make sure that when they do these manipulations, that as target individual, do not think that the way they can manipulate you is a way you should identify with. You have to be manipulated to experience whatever you're experiencing. Now, these people that are around you, your co-workers that participate in this, your neighbors that participate in this, fully are aware of the horrible things they do to children, fully are aware of the women that are being tortured. Matter of fact, you as a target individual might be a woman, is a woman, and you are seeing co-workers who are women, who are mothers, who are somehow finding a way to dumb themselves down in order to block out the reality of what you're going to hear. This is the things I'm going to continuously bring up. Because the things they do to us, but to not only as adults, but with children, is things that are just so disturbing. But the humiliation of reality. Now, I was on a call, and they love to talk about what I'm going to experience, because at this point, they know I'm not going to violate. I'm not going to identify with these retardations of logic they want me to have. They want me to be like, oh, you see, you're going to get tortured like that, so that's proof. It's like, you torture babies. Yes, you're doing this thing to babies. Whatever you're doing to me, you've done this to children and women. And when I mean you. Because the perps that are around you are just the bottom feeders. They're not the people in charge. They participate. They do the gaslighting. They want you to be subscriptive. I was on a call with this woman and a few other people. And that's when people have dumbed themselves down and want you to get on that level of retardation. They want you to be on this logic of nonsensicalness. She starts saying something because they were in the next video you'll see what they were trying to create, and it was just too stupid. So now what they go back into is this even more stupid logic. She starts saying, "Oh, she's so cute as a bug, but cute, and then she keeps saying that word, cute, is a cute as a cute." I was like, because what she wants me to think about is a cute little girl. So they can do this pedophilia type of torture that they say that they mapped it to me when I was a kid. That you understand that how, like, they are so aware that this is a manipulation that it doesn't even, it is like, to them it's like, you see how it makes sense? I can say this and this going, it's like, do you think that naturally you would say chill as a button and these weird feelings and sensation will happen? Of course they understand that my brain is rewired and manipulated in these ways. Is even them doing this, them saying these things in order to start triggering the manipulations that they make me experience is an indication that they know that you have to be manipulated. And so they make me think, and that's the saddest part. They brought up this little girl. I remember this like 5-year-old little baby that was dancing. I used to be able to watch her videos. She went viral with her little dance. She was very adorable. And I used to be able to see this and be like, oh, that's... They have erased, first of all, my memory of that moment. They now have me experience the things that make me experience today. So they go into something they've literally had to manipulate me to experience and even erase my memories. Where this is a case of a moment of like, there's a before and an after. The after is now getting this nasty stimulation, and the before was none of that. But now I'm experiencing it this way. And they're like, no, and and listen to the logic they want me to accept. It's like, before you were not being mapped, you weren't mapped at the time. you weren't pushed to think the way you would think when you were a child. You were just you, but we made you start thinking the way you think when you were a child. You were. You were feeling, you were that before. That's how retarded they want. And you can see all of them trying to be like, looking at me. It's like, oh, they're gonna see the people are gonna torture you. They're gonna see this. Like, listen. First of all, the logic that you want me to have on its own is an indication of how on the spectrum you want me to be. You want me to be like, you know what, you're right, because before August 19, 2019, I wasn't thinking the way I would think when I was a child. I was me as an adult. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. They are truly want you to think this way. It's like, and then they can start, they're gonna be tortured this way. It's like, listen, you're gonna hear these tactics of doing the pedophilia type of torture. You're gonna hear that. Matter of fact, they hate that. They start going, as soon as like they have to make themselves be logical and think in a normal logical way. Oh, they hate. It's funny. They start like running away from the call, which is like, I know the reason why you're running away is because you know how stupid it is to try to make me think this way. And that means that you already heard this video that you just try to escape from because you don't want to dumb yourself down to that level. Because what you're going to hear after this is what I've talked about. They do this disturbing pedophilia type of torture. But not only they do this pedophilia type of torture systematically, but the entities that are running this program, because it's obvious that those entities running this program are obviously intelligence community entities. They are not this random investigators, whatever BS. We are human subjects. You're going to hear this woman, this Kathleen Nestor, a woman with her child, both of them in a program being tortured using the same tactics, psychological tormenting, physical tormenting, all of that, using this remote technology. Gang stalking, the same whole thing. She speaks up and she says, me and my child are going through this thing. We know this is obviously a governmental entity running this program. We don't think it's our neighbors are doing this. I'll just say the same thing. So obviously I know that too. But the way they are trying to push us to this stupidity, and with me, I think the humiliation of what you're going to hear is a little too much. It is too much. Because you're gonna hear the way they abuse children. But in fact, as I said that, let me just go back. They talk about me as in 8th grade. The reason why they try to say, "Oh, you were mapped and everything else," is because when I was a child in 8th grade, I did this stupid thing a child can do in middle school. A child that is just impulsive, that does one thing and just during a time when my testosterone is just like, and I do something stupid to myself. Now looking back as a 30-some-year-old grown adult man, I'm looking up, I was like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Like, it's just not it's embarrassing. But I see it as a child doing something stupid. Now, these people obviously see the same way, but they are trying to dumb themselves down in a way where it's like, oh my gosh, you abuse. When they're in a program that literally torture children. They are literally hurting kids, even sexually. Sexual torture. Those are people with kids, huh? They love to call out the fact that they're mothers. Or our children. It's like you're a grown ass woman in a program that you try to ignore and block out this testimonial of a woman saying she's being tortured. This is the same program. This is that. So you think I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, you're doing that for your children? You're talking about me as a child doing something stupid that you have to exaggerate because the stupidity of it is just what a child is capable of doing. That's the reality. But you're in a program that not only manipulates us adults, men and women, in these ways where they manipulate us to think in these disturbing ways. Where in my case, like, no, what we're doing is making you think the way you would think when you were a child. And we're just making you think that way now. And others is just the pedophilia type of torture that you're going to hear. You understand? In every sense you look at it, it's obvious that they want us to be tormented and manipulated in these disturbing ways where we experience things in these disgusting sexual ways. Disturbing. And so things that I was able to watch and enjoy and find adorable and actually cute. Now it's just, I get this nasty stimulation and sensation, which they say, no, you felt like that when you were like 13 years old, 12 years old. when you were like 9 years, it's just nasty. I'm like, what? I'm 30 plus, 30, I'm in my late 30s at this point. And you understand? You listen to this grown woman who just becomes an escape into like, what land are you on now? And she was like trying to make me imagine these babies so they can have me have this reaction that they say that I experienced when I was a child who's barely hit teenagehood. Even pre-teenage in some cases. Some of they try to be like, oh no, we match it to you when you were 9 years old. They were literally saying that. And it's so nasty. And so now this adorable, cute as a butt, whatever, is now, they can start giving me some reaction and stimulations. I was like, do you think this is natural? Do you think I'll ever be like, oh my gosh? And then bring up a pure example of how my experiences are now. And for example, this video of this baby dancing that I look at it, it's like, oh, okay, that was like, and now it's just like, oh, I've got the stimulation that they quote unquote mapped to me when I was a child. Meaning they just manipulate me. And by the matter of fact, you're going to hear they manipulate your memories. With me, even my memories in my childhood, I manipulate to change that feeling into something sexual and stimulating, and having sexual stimulations. In my childhood. It's so disturbing and it's so deceptive in so many levels. I used to call those 3Ds all the time. They distort reality, they disorient you, and they deceive you in so many ways at a level that you don't understand. And who is they is obviously this governmental entity that you're going to hear. We are human subjects. And to end it all, this woman tells me, oh, you're gonna drink their soup because they're going to do these things to my teeth. And it's like, listen, I am breaking down, and there's not a single person who have even got close to harming me physically. My body is literally breaking down. I'm by myself right now in my apartment, and nobody touched me in a way that would break me down. And I can barely walk normally. I can feel my ribs slowly breaking down. My skull is changing up. My point is, whatever theater of torture you're going to make me experience, I'm fully aware this is for pure theatrical reasons. It's to create a theatrical saying, you see that those horrible things are going to happen to him, that's proof. Or at least it's to make me believe that because this is going to happen to me, that's true. You can do all this, and you've done that to women, to people much more vulnerable, without a single person actually touching them. You see the faces of some of these women. See, look at their faces. Those women, nobody came and actually punched them or do it. No, this is what this technology can do. Look at their legs, puffs and stuff coming out of it. It's not deriving from somebody literally coming and doing something to them. They're becoming handicapped. They're rotting. Their bodies are rotting. Not because somebody is coming into. It's because this technology can do so much harm to you remotely. That's why the person who can torture me and kill me right now can be wearing their peaches and can be like a child or childlike individual. And so I understand that reality. Now, they want to come up with their fantasy. They want you to be acceptive of these manipulations. And so that's why they're going to create this theater. For me, thank you, God. Because the one thing they like to say is like, it's fate. We got you. It's fate because what you did in 8th grade. I'm like, what? It is actually fate, though. They are right. Because it's fate that while they were trying to make me acceptive of this illogical, nonsensical manipulations where they're like, oh no, we mapped it to you when you were a child. Remember what you did as a child. And then not only they torture children in these disturbing ways, sexual ways, but the entities who are obviously in control of this program, who are the one running this program, that are behind the scene for sure, obviously, those entities happen to have a bunch of pedophiles. And that came out during the time where they were trying to make me subscribe to, what we're doing, we're mapping to your brain, to your childhood or whatever, or then we mapped it, we did this and that. And you hear about why is there so many pedophiles in agencies where they do this background check at the level of the intelligence community, where they will go through everything in your life, but they're letting these people who are pedophiles, who are doing child porn on the government devices, on government Wi-Fi. Why are they letting that happen when they obviously are aware of these things? Because but the way these people are, the background check is to a level that they cannot miss things like that. So they just ignore it. And so these trash are not like, oh no, you're a pedophile. No, I'm your target individual who you want to turn into a pedophile, who you want him to accept this pedophilia type of torture. Mapping and talk about you when you were a kid. Oh, that's stupidity. And then try to make me think, oh my gosh, they saw that they're gonna beat you up. I was like, listen, you don't need to beat me up. And do you think that people who are literally tortured children would be like, oh no, you see what he did when he was a kid? We mapped it. We made him think the way we mapped it to him when he was a child. We made we made his brain think the way he could think when he was a child. We mapped it. And you hear why is there so many pedophiles in this agency doing child porn and doing things to 2-year-old and 6-year-old? This CIA contractor, this CIA workers. Do you understand? So for me, it's for these people who tell me how I'm going to die and be tortured. Yes, I understand. You want to create a theater. But one thing is for sure. You would have preferred doing this thing to me without all of these things that you heard. Maybe that's an indication that, okay, you're going to see all these horrible things happen to him, but you don't know what's going to happen to you. Target individuals, find yourself lucky. Because imagine your job, your life consisted right now to block out what you're going to hear in order to cope with living with yourself. In order to cope with reality, you have to block out what you're part of to that point that you have to try to counter when the woman says, I'm being raped every day. It's been like this for the last 3 years. Me and my 3-year-old, me and my child, my young child, are being tortured these ways. When you hear women saying that they're getting zapped in the genitals, they're getting yeast infections, they're getting all this, and this technology can do all this, and they do this pedophilia type of torture, forcing me to think about children in this sexual way, this disturbing ways, aimed program perverted toward children. Almost all target individuals are forced to see child porn in their mind. All these things that you're going to hear. And your life is trying to block this out. And tell us the me is, no, you're gonna die. It's like, yes, you die too. You're gonna fucking die. Target individual, that could be your life. So for me, for these low lives who try to escape and create this little fantasy, trying to be, no, first of all, you do this pedophilia type of torture. It is a pattern of the tactics of manipulations and your retardations of logic where, now we make you think the way you think when you're a child. Okay, do you think does not sound a little bit retarded? That you're saying that you make me think like a child. No, I'm not going to let you escape. And when you talk about me as a kid doing whatever stupid thing I did, and you're in a program that literally tortured children, does it not sound a little bit also retarded? That you'll be in a program that literally tortured children, hurt children, even infants. But a stupid 8th grade, a kid who just turned 14, maybe not even turned 14, about to turn 14, do some stupid stupid impulsive thing a child can do. And be like, no, now you're gonna abuse. Now you're gonna be abused. When you're in a program that literally abuses children in these terrible ways. And you're a grown-ass man and woman with children having to block that out. I'm sorry. But there is fate in regard to what's happening. Because I could have been living the life these people live. Because in every ways, the things they're involved in is the things that people should truly be properly handled for. But this is these people doing this thing to me are truly those intelligence community entities. These bottom feeders are contract. The bottom feeders who would find ways to counter. Their job is to really disorient you, to deceive you, and distort reality. So listen to these things.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts, and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
End my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know.
to as malodorants. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted.
Human breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
They would never take my will, and since we all know how the psychopaths groups work with what the TI says or does, then they started during the nights to run some kind of beam where suddenly I've been wakened up at 3 o'clock in the mornings and some kind of voice comes and say phrases, sound incomprehensible, and some other times can actually catch what is saying, ITS not my voice, a different voice, and I realized that they are trying to program for me to take it in a way that I won't notice a possible change in my behavior. Of course this is not new, because one main thing this program is out there, is called behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join, deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things, that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words in my mind. I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Then said this, the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them I usually called demeaning names, and one of them is referring to homosexuals. For me all of the slaves are misfits, society haters, scumbags, etc. No, I don't have anything personal against them, homosexuals, but as my way to aggravate the slaves, and since they love to use children for the torture and stalking, street theater etc. Especially teenagers for the stalking at close range with an attitude, they are using them during my sleep in the perversion program, and so you can imagine what the slaves of torture are pretending to do to me. In the last days, as today September 9th, '07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day and I feel the palpitations in my genitals for what I'm thinking, and since the attack comes so quickly, I realized my programming has been set on auto in their central computers. No handlers could do something like this that quick. What make me realized, the slaves are desperate to get me. Unfortunately for them, they are facing a strong wall where no matter how much their computers EAP me, I know I'm not changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a being where I feel constantly stimulated. I'm talking sexually, like a heat in my genitalia.
A speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, "Ow," while looking up at me.
And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner's syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner's syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights. My 9-year-old son Dylan complained about the lights. You will often hear that vision is something that is greatly affected with this type of torture.
So you
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutmann to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan, and please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
Research. I too believe my experience is referred to as no-touch torture, utilizing defense technologies. Jonathan Marino, he basically predicted all this a number of years ago in his book Undue Risk. I'm asking you to help initiate a congressional investigation. We've all come a long way. This is what is needed. We want to have the accounts of this extreme human rights abuse that's going on in our country documented and heard, all of the accounts. We also need what was done during the Clinton administration, which is a major declassification of some of these documents that are hiding what's been going on. I speak for many when I say we've suffered long enough. My personal experience has been 10 years. I've been vilified. I've been ostracized. I've been tortured. I have burns on my body. I'm an American. I have rights. The answer to the question, the big question today, could it happen today? The answer is yes, it is happening today. It is happening for some of us every day. I am begging for you to help us. Thank you.
You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of your being a victim.
You mean what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, how do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, you're mentally sound as a bell. He said, I don't have any idea what's going on with you. When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of the...
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2976, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
And in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
All of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the use their telephone so I could make airline, flight, because all I wanted to do was leave Chicago. And so I figured I'd make my plans in a hotel. I didn't think that they could hack the hotel. I was very naive back then. I didn't understand the full technology spectrum or even interest, and all I wanted to do was leave. So I was at a hotel on a relatively high floor, and they had all of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the night before I was attacked really bad, I noticed a maintenance man about 10 or 11 o'clock at night messing with all of the lights up and down the hallway. And as, I'm sorry, I get kind of upset when I think about this because it's really messed up. And my spidey sense went off, and I was really kind of nervous about like what the hell he was doing out there, because he was kind of a sinister, he was real creepy kind of person. So so the next night, I believe it was a Friday night, I went to bed. I had all of the doors, all the locks on the door, even the one that kind of like goes over that you can't open from the outside. I had everything locked up. Figured I was safe. I went to bed maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, bleeding out of every hole, sick. Someone was in my room, or had been in my room. Food was missing. My dogs were traumatized. I had been obviously sexually assaulted in all the worst ways possible. I got up, first thing I did was vomit. And all I wanted to do was I was just in shock. There was a do not disturb sign on my door, and I didn't do this. And there was lotion all over my bathroom floor. All I wanted to do was just get on a plane and get the hell away from everybody. And I was, very, very sick and in a lot of pain. I had already been denied a rape kit when I owned my house, and woke up, and my hair had obviously been pulled out, and there were earplugs in my bed. And I felt like someone had done something. I went to Palos Community Hospital, under the directions of a non-compromised police officer who told me that if anything happened, to go right to the hospital. So I did. And I had a compromised doctor who treated me like a third-rate citizen and said she would give me an STD test and a drug test. But she refused me a rape kit. don't do that. And I
life gets interrupted, you have no privacy, like whatsoever. Your social life is ruined because you start to feel like you can't trust anybody, because it seems like somebody just put some kind of spotlight on you, and that everybody is not really conspiring to get you. It's more of trying to drive you crazy. It's more of a psychological and emotional attack than anything. And this is the first time that we've spoken out about it, only because I've been seeing a lot of other videos. And I think that it helps to talk about, what's going on, because you may be able to prevent someone else from making the same mistakes that you made. And we made a lot of mistakes. We called the police. That was no help. We left our home. We've quit jobs because of it. We've cut friends off because of it. We've cut family members off. The only way to really get through something like this is to be able to vent and to do as much research as possible. For other people that are experiencing this, that are targeted individuals, I would suggest that you start documenting as much as you can, start videotaping, recording as much as you can, because the thing that promotes this is that you can't prove it, and that these people can stay hidden, and that's why it lasts for so long. I'm seeing people that have been going through it since 2005, and they can't seem to get it to stop. But it's because they make sure you can't pinpoint one person. It's everybody. It's all the time, and so it discredits your character and your state of mind, which, starts to make everybody believe something's wrong with you, and then you start believing something's wrong with you. But it's not you. And you know that it's not you. It's just hard to prove. But don't go get, mental health help. Don't see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Most of the time, they're involved too. Your police are involved, your firemen, ambulance, people at hospitals, they're all involved.
Help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture, and I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
We need
stalking,
this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, and I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the U.S., in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
We
stalking,
need this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, microwave torture,
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Hello.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, first floor, second floor, 2 garage, backyard, land, everything. Can't live in my house. My neighbors are shooting direct energy weapons through my house. I hold my heart like this. You know why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. Come get me. Oh, Lord, because I think I'm dying. I'm making this video
in an attempt to expose this horrific nightmare.
Hello, I'm making this video to honor the 3rd Annual Targeted Individual Day. That's August 29th, 2020. My name is Linda Marie Sharp in Mendocino County, California, United States. I am a targeted person and have been for over 12 years. I am electronically tortured by directed energy weapons.
Hi, my name is Lisa Davis and I'm in Duluth, Minnesota. I am a targeted individual.
Of government could do this. And so anyway, my interview with Len, he very well described a typical breakdown script that's used on almost all the TI victims. TI stands for targeted individuals. Some of them are pretty crazy. They have names like Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and those are the confusion tactics. And when they're breaking down the ego of the human through all the pains and tortures and the verbal breakdown, these are typical CIA torture scripts. I mean, Kubark manual. And they do good cop, bad cop interrogation called Jeff and Mutt. And they go right through the list, right? Just textbook. So whoever the handlers are on the other side of this synthetic telepathy, they're following the handbook perfectly.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number 1, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number 2, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
for his inappropriate behavior of soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA. The assistant DA.